So as we said, that it's the role of the CIO has kind of taken this value creation center role because of SaaS and kind of the creation of Salesforce.com and what Salesforce did. I mean, in the early days, we know Salesforce sold into sales and bypassed IT. You and I both were probably on the first project where IT was full and center when we deployed it at Dell. How do you think AI may shift that even further back into the business because these tools and this technology is so at the fingertips of so many people now with LLMs, even with the embedding of AI in some of the packaged softwares that you see? Do you feel like it is pushing IT back into the business and diminishing the role of the CIO? Or do you think
Quite
it's
the
changing?
opposite, actually. Quite
Okay.
the opposite. I think it's actually pushing the CIO farther into the business for a couple of reasons. I'll start first with there is no enterprise, medium or large enterprise company that doesn't basically run on technology through and through, end to end, right? So the role of the CIO is to understand the business as well as any COO or CEO or any other component. Because if something along that line breaks, the CIO has to understand what's happening, how it's driving it, where the breakdown is, and how to react to it, which also brings business continuity back into play, which is something that has kind of died out over the last 10 or 15 years. And I think it's really important that that starts to come back in because companies forget how they used to operate with pen and paper or how they used to operate in a non-technology world. And a lot of the people that remember how that used to work actually have retired. So you have a new workforce who doesn't actually know how the business runs if we had to go in a manual world. So I actually think it's really important, and totally different podcast, but it's important to start thinking about business continuity.
But it's a really interesting point because you don't hear it talked about a lot, right?
And it was always front and center. It was, you had business continuity was always tied into compliance, and they really fell into the same umbrellas. And now we've focused more on compliance and we've lost that business continuity initiative. It's really important that it comes back in. And I think about when we had the massive outage at Maersk back in 2018, the company went dark for 30 days and it was back to pen and paper. And we relied a lot on people who'd been there for 30 years, who were out in the fields and were out using clipboards and writing down container numbers in the yards. And it was back to basics.
You have to understand the core process that the technology enables, period.
100%. So I do think it's a lost art.